You're listening to Song Exploder, where musicians take apart their songs and piece by piece tell the story of how they were made. My name is Rishikesh Hirway. Song Exploder is sponsored by Squarespace, the best way to showcase your art or music or business online. My friend Heather Wong has a bakery company called Scudabaker, and her website, scudabaker.com, runs on Squarespace. It's beautiful, like the desserts that she makes. She says she loves Squarespace because it's so user-friendly because she's, quote, computer stunted. And the templates are clean and visually appealing, and it doesn't look like she used a template. You can see for yourself at scudabaker.com. Then try Squarespace for your own project. You can get a free trial by going to squarespace.com/exploder. And when you're ready to launch, just use the offer code EXPLODER to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. Bojack Horseman is a Netflix original series, an animated comedy about a washed-up 90s sitcom star who's trying to figure out his life and career without drowning in self-loathing and existential despair. It won the 2016 Critics' Choice Award for Best Animated Series. The theme song for the show was created by Patrick Carney, who's one half of the Black Keys, and his uncle, Ralph Carney, a multi-instrumentalist who has worked with artists like Tom Waits, St. Vincent, Galaxy 500, and a lot more. But the track wasn't written for the show originally. It was just something that Patrick and Ralph made without knowing what it was for. In this episode, the two of them break down how the song was created and how it went from their long-distance collaboration to become the main title theme.
I'm Patrick Carney, the drummer for the Black Keys, and I produced and co-wrote the theme song to Bojack Horseman with my uncle Ralph.
This is Ralph Carney, the uncle of Patrick Carney. I played some instruments on that Bojack theme.
We've been sending stuff back and forth to each other since I was a teenager.
You used to send cassettes back when you were like 16 or something. Those are hilarious. I got some good ones.
I got into music because of Ralph. The first time I think I ever saw Ralph perform, my dad, I don't remember if he woke us up or if he had taped it, but it was Ralph playing with Tom Waits on Letterman and probably like 87.
It was 88, but that's okay.
Ralph was more of like an influence than someone I learned to play music with.
I came back in 2008 and specifically to record some stuff with you. And I remember you're like, let's do a MySpace page right now. I remember.
I think it might still be up there.
It's still there.
I built a studio at my house in Nashville, and basically the theme from Bojack was just the first thing I recorded in the studio. It was more of a test, make sure everything worked well. The first thing I did was I just built a click track. I bought a Roland Jupiter 4 off of my buddy in Ohio, and I plugged the Pro Tools click track into the CV input and then turned the arpeggiator on. CV is controlled voltage, so it's a primitive way of controlling a synthesizer externally with a different electronic source. The Jupiter 4 is a cool keyboard, and it has old weird presets. The whole sound of that is from glitching out the clock. It moves in that way because I have so much volume, I think, going into the CV input from a Pro Tools click track that it's just totally glitching it out. And the next thing I added to it was the drums. So the way I do drums typically is I record a very simple beat, like kick, snare, hi-hat. When you hear the beginning of the song, when the drums first come in, it's just a loop of just that very simple beat. And then the next thing I did after that was I recorded a whole drum take of fills on top of it. The thing after that was this distorted rhythm guitar kind of call and response thing that I recorded it in mono, and then I took the pan pot and went left to right. I love to collaborate on music. I prefer it. I hate working by myself. The fact that I had even bothered to structure something and like get a rough mix together, you know, it was all because I knew I was going to send it to Ralph.
First of all, when I got it from Patrick, I was like, man, you're really coming up with some cool stuff. So what I do, I put it on and I just look around in my room. I go, there's a tenor sax right there. And then there were a couple of rhythmic things that, like I said, oh, that's kind of a cool little riff. There's that one, bop, bop, bop. I basically would find something that seemed like a riff and then double it or triple it. And I sort of like beefed up some of the parts, like they were written out horn parts, you know? And then I added bass trombone and baritone sax. So there's a lot of low horn stuff, and that kind of gives it that bite. At the very end, playing baritone sax, I think that was really cool how Patrick like had this isolated that as like a solo instrument. And kind of like the Simpsons, Lisa Simpson, Barry sax.
The thing about the the saxophone, like in rock and roll, has such a bad rap. But I mean, it is like, it can supplement a human voice, I think, so well. It is why it's such an important instrument when it comes to jazz and stuff like that. I mean, Ralph has such good instincts, and everything he plays is interesting, you know. A couple of days later, I got, you know, an email with the files back from him, and I knew like instantly after playing it back that it was going to work. I went through and kind of edited stuff and mixed it down, and like 3 months later, I got an email from one of the producers of Bojack, a guy named Noel Bright, and I didn't know him. He just asked,
I'm Noel Bright, and I'm one of the executive producers on the show. Every part of Bojack Horseman had been sort of, well, what's our dream? And during the casting process, it was sort of, what's our dream for Bojack? And it was like, Will Arnett. And we got Will Arnett. And then it was like, who's our dream for Todd? Aaron Paul. And we got Aaron Paul. And we started to realize that we had something special, and we started making the show and working on the main title. It felt like, okay, what are we going to do? This is going to be very special. It's going to be very, emblematic of the show. And it felt like, well, it's worked all along from this point. Let's go for what would be our dream. And for me personally, I've always been a Black Keys fan. And because we were on Netflix, we had a lot of flexibility to do something really different. So reaching out to work with one of your favorite artists was kind of a no-brainer, and felt like, let's take a shot. This is a show that's not a typical animated comedy. It's a funny show, but it's thoughtful, and it has a dark side to it. When we heard the original track, we knew immediately that it worked. It just captured the tone so well. When you hear the saxophone and you hear the dreamlike quality of the piece, I think it was something that immediately we weren't looking for, but we knew it was right when we heard it. We showed it to the team at Netflix and said, we think that we have our main title, and we think this is going to be very special, and we think this is going to brand the show and identify right out of the bat, like tell the fans and tell people this is what the show is.
That was just really like one of those lucky breaks. It wasn't like, hey man, these people want us to do this theme for a cartoon about a horse, Then it'd be like, oh, right. What sax should I play that sounds like a horse? Or I would have thought about too much and, probably would have sucked. You're thinking too hard. So it's the best world when something you've done, just they like it.
Yeah.
The main title sequence for Bojack Horseman, where this song appears in each episode, is about 55 seconds long. The music is edited to fit the length, but the original version that they made is actually about 4.5 minutes long, with sections that are never heard on the show. So now, here's the Bojack Horseman theme by Patrick Carney, featuring Ralph Carney, in its entirety. Visit songexploder.net for more information on Patrick Carney, Ralph Carney, and Bojack Horseman. There's a link to buy the full-length version of this song, and you can see the show's main title sequence. You can find all the past and future episodes of Song Exploder at songexploder.net or wherever you download podcasts. Song Exploder is a proud member of Radiotopia from PRX, a curated network of extraordinary, story-driven shows. Learn more at radiotopia.fm. My name is Rishikesh Hirway. Thanks for listening.
Radiotopia.